Hey, what's up, everybody? I've been excited for this to get here. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Basically, it's an antenna tracker for your FPV system, long-range FPV system, if you prefer. I definitely do. This is the Arkbird antenna tracker. I've been looking at different antenna trackers. There's really not a whole lot out there in the way of antenna trackers. So because there's not a lot of different options out there, there's not a lot of reviews on different antenna trackers. Certainly not on Arkbird's. Arkbird is a great company. I've used their OSD for a long time now. It's worked perfectly. I think Arkbird really tries to make cutting-edge technology while also saving the consumer money, which is good. We all like saving money, and it's a good product. So they really focus on their customers. So with that in mind, I kind of did some research on Arkbird, looked at their different products. Like I said, I've used their OSD for a long time, and decided to go with their antenna tracker, as it is probably the cheapest out there that has the functionality that this does. But I did want to show you a few of the things that came with it. The thing I liked about the Arkbird is it comes with all the cables you need. This will power your receiver, as well as get your audio and video down to the base, which stays still, and this part moves around. They also send you your updating USB tool. So basically, if you have an Arkbird OSD, which I do, you need to be on version, I think it's version 3, 10.2. You need to be above or newer than version 3, 10.21. If you have V3 10.21 or older, you need to do the update. And Arkbird got wise and decided we need to send the tool to make this possible for people to do. Anyway, I will probably do a video, because I've only found one on all of YouTube and the internet that has somebody describing how to do it, how to do the update on the OSD. So I will do that later. Look for that later. I'll probably post a link once I do, showing you how to do the update. I'm going to do that tonight. So, but ultimately, this thing should be pretty much plug and play, and that's, like I said, because Arkbird has included all the cables you need, which not every company always does that. You need to go find and hunt and see, okay, what kind of servo leads do I need? What kind of wires and cables do I need? Arkbird has included that. This is the onboard unit, nice and lightweight, not a big deal. The plane I use is a Volantex Ranger EX. Weight is not an issue with this plane. Something like this, it's a little half gram or whatever this is, that's not going to make a difference at all. Some of you guys are putting this in lighter planes. Smaller unit does make a difference, so that's good there too. So yeah, pretty stoked about this. Like I said, I've been looking forward to it for a long time. I am going to play around with this for a little while, and then I'll come back and show you what I did to get it together. Like I said, manual makes it look like it's pretty straightforward stuff. Should be plug and play. Okay, so this is how I have it set up. I've got my IB Crazy Video Aerial Systems Crosshair Antenna, 1.3 right-hand polarized antenna. Receiver mounted on top. I mean, that's optional. You don't necessarily have to put it here. I've got it velcroed on there. And your video and audio and power are all in this one cable, like I said before. And it comes around to the back, plugs straight in. You'll want to make sure that as this spins, that this cable doesn't get caught up on anything, like one of these guys, or the cables coming out of here. You just want to make sure it spins freely. Same with your antenna cable. So make sure that spins around freely. This port that you see here is for an optional GPS unit. I'm going to add that down the line. It just basically tells the auto tracker that where home is. So what that means is if your plane goes down somewhere in a field 2 miles away, you can pick this up and walk around with it, and your antenna will always be pointed at your plane, which is great if you lose a plane. So that's a great option. I definitely want to get an extra antenna, and it's extra GPS module, and it's basically the same as your GPS module for your plane. It's the exact same one, just plugs in right there. So that's what that port is. Show you the other ports. You've got your power. That, like I said earlier, it powers both the tracker and your receiver, which is awesome. That's just one less battery you have to worry about. And there's your video port as well. So that's the ground station. Like I said, pretty straightforward stuff. On the unit itself, this is going to get, my plane is a wiring fiasco. Makes sense to me though, that's all that matters. This is the onboard unit. I've just taped it to the side. Run the servo leads just as they say in the instructions how to do. Again, straightforward. I feel like I've said that a dozen times, but it is. It's just plug it in to where the instructions say, and it works great. One thing I did find, and I've talked with Arkbird back and forth about it a couple times. They're going to run some diagnostics to see what the issue could have been. But one thing I did find is that when I plugged my Mobius in, when I had my Mobius camera plugged in, and it was set to the NTSC setting or format, it did not work. The onboard unit, the LED on it flashed slowly, which means it's not sending the link. And it's not sending video either. It's just having issues transmitting. So it took me quite a while to figure out that it needed to be on the PAL setting. If you have onboard if you have board cameras, they need to be PAL. That's what I've found. I talked to Arkbird, and they say that they have tried out multiple different cameras, and they all work great. So it could be something on my end. I've got a couple of weird things going on. I've got a step-down unit for the power to the camera. Basically takes it from 12 volt down to the manageable voltage for the Mobius. But I have tried it without that wire and plugged in a PAL camera versus an NTSC camera, and it seems like the only one I can get to work is PAL. So Arkbird's saying that they've tried NTSC cameras, so it, like I said, it could be something in my setup that I'm just not aware of at this point. But to me, that's the only thing that's worked. So if you're having issues with yours, that would be one thing I'd try initially. When Arkbird gets back to me about the NTSC versus PAL, I will update the, not necessarily the comments, but I'll update this post with what my problem was, because I sent them the cameras that I've used and everything else. They're going to try and diagnose it and see what happened. But anyway, yeah, that's how it's set up. Next, I will be out at the field showing you the tracker following the plane. Hopefully that goes well.
Yeah, you're definitely into the wind.
Is this full throttle? Now.
13 amps.
Yeah, now.
16.4.
So you get some video of the tracker following the plane? Yeah. Chris?
Yeah.
Man, this thing does not like the wind.
we'll do a little more of a low flyby if you want me to be able to get this.
How much the wings are moving around?
Yeah.
Alright, so we're back from the field from doing a few test flights. Actually, I've done about 4 or 5 with the tracker now, and just to do a recap and a review of how it did. This thing is amazing. I am a huge fan still. Glad I went with Arkbird. The features on this thing are great. Just to list some of the pros and cons. I did find a couple cons. They're kind of nitpicking, almost just trying to find something, because really the thing is pretty well seamless, especially for the price. That's actually one of the pros is the price. The bang for your buck, the value of this item is fantastic, especially when compared to other antenna trackers. Between I think $230 to $250 typically is what I've seen it online for. It's just amazing for that price. Sorry, it's early in the morning here. My brain's still not fully functioning yet. So some of the pros. I love the stuff that they've thought of. I love that they went ahead and put a power cable on here to supply power to your video receiver. That's great. So then you just have one battery to worry about for this whole unit, which is great. I love the suction cup mounts. That is a fantastic feature if you don't have a tripod, or if you're wanting to fly your plane while in a car that's being driven. You can mount that on top of your car. I've got it mounted. I've got a little quick release tripod mount on here right now. So that's a really cool feature. Something to think about if you are going to mount it to your car and move. You do need to have the GPS unit plugged in here, so that's an additional cost. I think you can get those for anywhere between 20 and 30 bucks. But that way, this unit always knows where home is. Right now, without it, it sets its home location based on where the plane took off. So if you take the plane off and then move this, it still thinks it's in the spot where the plane took off from, and it's not, and that will lead to the antenna pointing in the wrong direction. So if you plan on moving this after taking off, you'll need to get that additional GPS unit. Other reasons why you might want to move this is if your plane goes down. You can, if you have the GPS unit, you can pick this unit up and walk around or drive around, depending on how far out you went down, and your antenna will always be pointed in the way of the airplane, as long as it has signal and the plane's still transmitting and that kind of thing. But that way you can track your plane and find it, which is really cool. If you've ever lost a plane, it's painful. So that's a big help. Other things is it works with pretty much any, I haven't found one that it doesn't work with, but any flight controller, because they offer 3 different ways to connect the onboard unit on your plane. You can connect it to your Arkbird if you have an Arkbird Flight Controller. If you don't, no big deal. You can solder in to your flight controller's GPS, or you can buy another GPS unit to have two on your plane that hook into the onboard unit. So it'll work with any flight controller, which is great if you don't have an Arkbird. The fact that it's plug and play, again, I said that a dozen times, but it really is. I didn't have to tinker much. The biggest hurdle for me was the update on the OSD. I'm somewhat computer savvy, but not compared to, you know, a lot of people out there. So doing the update for me was a little difficult just because I didn't really know what all it involved, and I had to search through some forums and find the software that I needed. So the update on the OSD was a little difficult, but once you have that software, everything's fine, and it goes through well. Other than the update, everything was really seamless, went together really easy. When I first read the instruction manual, I thought it was pretty straightforward, but it was even easier than I thought it was going to be. So awesome. Another thing that I really liked about it is it's smooth. When you watch the video on it, the tracker, I mean, it is smooth. There's no hesitation or stops or anything like that you might see in some other trackers. With the 10 hertz transmission of the GPS location back to the tracker, it keeps it smooth. So fantastic. So cons. This is a silly one. Like I said, they're nitpicky, but no physical manual, no big deal. I know everybody nowadays, you can get any manual online. Okay, great, you can get one. I still kind of like to have one in hand, just to be able to flip through while I'm on the workbench or whatever. That's one little thing. One complaint I might have about it is the tripod mount. Basically, you've got a piece of hard plastic here on the base, and there's just been a hole drilled out in there. When you go to screw this onto a tripod, if you do that over and over again when you're leaving the field, because when I'm driving to the field, I don't want to leave this unit on the tripod because there might be some unnecessary pressure on that joint, and I need to tighten that screw. Might be some unnecessary pressure on that joint and cause it to break. So I like to take this off when I'm traveling. If you do that a lot over and over, I see the potential for this plastic to fail and thread out. So Arkbird, one recommendation I would make is to put a coupling in there, any kind of the tripod, your standard coupling, I think is 3/4 thread or something like that. For your standard tripod thread, you can put a little metal coupling in there. That would solve the issue right there. It hasn't been an issue. Like I said, I've got a quick release on mine so that it avoids that, but not everybody has a tripod with a quick release, and you're having to screw in and unscrew. So that's, like I said, they're nitpicky. They're small things. One issue which I had talked to Arkbird about is the fact that you need to have a PAL camera for the most part. PAL is the format that they use overseas. Here in the States we use NTSC, and that has to do with your camera settings or your camera recording format. I tried out 2 different cameras that use NTSC, and I could not get the onboard unit to transmit. The LED on the onboard unit would just blink slowly. I could not figure it out for the life of me. It took a long time before I figured out when I put a PAL camera in there that it worked. So I talked to Arkbird. They said, we're updating it, we're fixing it, don't sweat it. So likely the units that they will be sending out shortly, within probably a matter of days, are going to be compatible with all formats. They say that some NTSC cameras work currently, just not my 2 apparently. So they are fixing it. Like I said, within probably a matter of days, all of their units will be compatible with NTSC and PAL. If you have one currently, and it's driving me nuts. If you have one currently and it does not work with the PAL, I'm sure they're going to do an update where it'll fix it. So in talking back and forth with Arkbird, they have been amazing. Get back to me really quick. And they're, like I said, they're in it to please their customers and for a value, which is what's great about this product and the OSD that I have. So all in all, very good reviews. It's an amazing product, especially for the cost, and it works great. I hit my record flight a couple days ago of 6.1 miles, where I fly out of, I deal with a border of trees. So basically I have to keep climbing all the way out, and I hit my battery limit. So video is still strong at 6.1 miles out. And it worked the entire time. So very, very pleased with this product. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message. I'll try and answer any questions you have. And thanks a bunch. Thanks for watching.